Okay, everybody, looks like I've got some sound. Now, if you look up here, you're going to see that I'm over here in Section A of Business Problem Analysis. I'm going to do a screencast. This is the pre-recorded screencast I mentioned in my schedule. This will be for both sections, Section A and then Section B, because we're basically at the same place. And this will be posted, and you'll want to view this in lieu of the class time on Tuesday. And I have some meetings to get to, and it's just going to be a stretch. So I just decided, okay, the best thing for me to do is to give you the pre-recorded videos, and this is a virtual day for you anyway. So, this should take care of it. And I don't think there's much need for us to go through a whole lot of things in terms of the welcome and all that. We talked through all of the classes, etc. The one thing we did not get into was the preview of XLS 3. And so today, this evening, we're going to work on XLS case number 2. Now, this is up in the welcome module, and I have resources for the Microsoft Excel cases. And you'll want to download to your desktop. And let's look at this for a minute. This looks at sales conversion stages. This is the business problem. Formulas in the use of the name manager, and I have a case called Athena Beauty A, and it's over here in the Canvas Files section, or the Modules section, or the supplemental website. Then we have a file from the Winston text, that companion text, the Excel companion. So there's a zip file, It's we're going to Athena Beauty and named rows temporary. That's out of chapter 2. Again, we're going to be using these. So let's do the very first thing. Let's find Athena Beauty. Okay. So we're going to go over here, and I'm going to go to the modules. I'm going to go to the files section first of all. All right. And I'm going to do a search for Athena. And there's Athena Beauty A, and it's ready for you. So I'm going to take this file. I'm going to download it, this Excel file, and I'm going to show it in the folder. Okay, and there it is. I'm going to throw it out here on the desktop. Now, as we discussed before at great length, when I do a workshop, I provide you one of 3 ways to earn the credit. First of all is to follow the screencast or the video that discusses that case. In this instance, it's case 2, and submit this one. This is one I've worked over and over for years. Or to submit the case that's from the textbook on Excel, and that one's from that zip file. Or you could try to do the one from the chapter 2 and upload it. I don't care. I think you're going to learn a lot more if you use the ones I recommend. Okay, but it's up to you. Now, let's go ahead and find that. We'll close this off, and then let's find that companion text, the companion zip file. Okay, so I'm going to do another search over here. I'm going to do companion, and you'll see that there's the access companion content. That's the access cases. We'll use it when we do access. This is Excel companion content. And I think this goes to chapter 45 or something like that. And then this is the remaining chapters. So we want to open up, we want to get this file, the companion content, and we want to download it. Okay. And it's going to take a little bit of time for it to download. It's a pretty good sized file. Okay. Let's count it down for us. It's got a slow download. So if you want to watch if you want to watch me work through a case, focusing on those skills and business concepts that are for case number 2, you can see me do Athena if you want. It's certainly up to you if you wish to do the case from the textbook, okay, and the one that I've identified there. And with that, you'll have the textbook, you'll have the narrative of how they put that spreadsheet together, so you can have that to look at as well. All right. So I'm giving you a couple of things, and at the end, you can upload either one of those for the workshop credit. Okay. It's not a very complicated thing at all. All right. And we'll let this download. It's just slow. It's a pretty good size file too. It's just going to take a little bit of time to download. You can see it's ticking off the seconds. And I'm going to click that and show in folder. And it should show here for me. And obviously, it's not cooperating. It may just be slow opening up. I don't know what the deal is with this. So here we go again. All right. I'm going to try this. Let me look at my downloads for just a moment. And let's see if it's over there. I guess it thinks it's still downloading. So that's really weird. Let's try this. Now I've got these files loaded on my machine, so probably to save time. Well, there you go. Okay, so we'll take the Excel content. That's going to take a little bit of time to copy it down there. So it's burning up some time. And I'm going to skip that. And we'll cancel that. Let's Just going to continue doing. We had the same issue the other day. All right, I've got the Excel companion, content 1, there's content 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll open it up. And let's look first of all at the resources for the access. And here the Excel, excuse me. There we go. And we're after this case 2. And we want the named rows temporary from chapter 2, figure 2.17. So come over here. I'm going to open up chapter 2. And I think I want the temporary file. I think it's the named rows. Yeah, pretty sure that's the one I want. But I'll make sure here for just a second. Named rows temporary. Okay. And it is the named rows file. And there it is. Now I'm going to copy this and put it on my desktop. And just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start with this Athena file, okay? And I'm going to rename it Athena Beauty A, and I'm going to call it Harmon. I'm going to add on Harmon Case 1. Pardon me, Harmon Case 2. I'm going to do the same thing on the named rows temp, because this is case number 2. Okay, so I've got both of those. Now, again, let's go back out to the modules. All right, and just to we'll close this off, and we'll look at the resources for those cases, and then we'll close it off. Case number 2, what business problem and what spreadsheeting skill are we working with? That's this first column, okay? And then the second case, we're looking at sales conversion stages, formulas, and the use of the name manager. And I've got an example file, one of my old cases that I've worked that will give us some insights, and that's Athena Beauty. And then the other is one from the textbook on our textbook on Excel. I'll go back over here, and that is the Winston textbook. Okay. And for that, we're going to go to chapter 2 and look at chapter 2, figure 17. So we're going to go over here to chapter 2. And we're going to find figure 217. So we'll have to scroll on a bit here. Okay. And we're getting close. We'll go back here. And chapter 2, I'll go back and find 217. We're going to talk about using the name manager, that kind of things, that type of thing. But here it is. There's our friend up, figure 217. Now, as I had mentioned to you before, the Winston textbook, okay, yeah, allows us to see how to put together a spreadsheet and do some of these tasks. So if you want here's how to do it, step, it's there for you. Now, I will show you what I've done with one particular case and how I've tweaked it and worked through it. So you can get the benefit of both, okay? And figure 217 is the one, I'll click that. And there's figure 217. And they're using the range names to refer to different rows. And we're going to look at that here now. Okay? Now, before we go too much further, we're going to go back to the modules. All right? Okay? And I'm going to click here. We've looked at week number 1, and don't forget, on the 8th, I believe it's the 8th, yeah, the financial ratios quiz is due. And XLS 1 is due. And I have I think I had a key for XLS 1. Okay, yeah. And then a key for August, a key for XLS 2. Okay. So don't worry about those dates right there. It doesn't matter. Now, let's look at Athena Beauty first. So I'm going to open it up. Okay, enable the editing. And you'll see that I've done some work with this over the years. This is this spreadsheet, this workbook, takes us through the sales conversion process. Now, this is about a company that marketed, that had a website, marketed cosmetics, I think is what the beauty products. And so they were trying to see and gather some data and some insights on how people were coming into the website and what they were doing. So if you look, first of all, they have this thing called source. And these are the pages where people came from who landed at the Athena Beauty products. So out of all of the people who visited Athena Beauty products, 120 of them who visited the Athena site came from fashionista.com. Now, the next is how many of them were shoppers. It's one thing to go visit a website, but then to start looking for stuff, they consider that a shopper. Okay, and you can see that 35 of those 126 visitors from Fashionista were shoppers. Okay, and so then we want to say, okay, what percentage of the people who visit our site, the web traffic, what percentage of them don't just come and browse around, but actually become shoppers? And so we've got that figure. Okay. And I don't think it's any big deal here. The only thing I would do, and again, I didn't do it here, I would put a $sign in front of the C and a $sign in front of the B, because I'm going to be, so I could drag and drop this all the way. Okay. Next, we come to attempted buyers. These are people who put something into their cart, maybe a couple of items. All right. So now we want to, our next percentage as we watch this is we want to get the percent of people who were shoppers who then became buyers. In other words, they were looking around, looking for stuff, and there were 16 of those people. Okay, and so we wanted to see now what percentage of shoppers converted to attempted buyers? So we want to say, okay, we start with 35 people here. Okay. Now, of those 35 people, of the 126 people who visited, okay, 35 are shoppers. All right. Now, we all want to know what percentage of people who visited became shoppers, and that's simple, 28%. Then we had 16 of them who became attempted buyers. Like I said, they put some stuff in their cart. And then we wanted to see the percentage of shoppers who were converted to attempted buyers. They didn't just go looking around for stuff, okay? They converted from a shopper to an attempted buyer, and we found that 46% of them were shoppers, and then they made an attempt to buy something. Then out of those people the 126 people who visited, 7 of them were buyers. And we want to know, okay, what percentage of attempted buyers actually made a purchase? Now, we had 16 people who put stuff in a cart, whatever. We had 7 people who actually followed through and bought something. So that gives us an idea of again, this is what we call the sales conversion process. Right? Now, if you come over here now, we have a couple of other percentage that we compute. And we want to know the visitors who purchased. That percentage. Okay. Now we already had the buyers. We already had the number of buyers who actually purchased, and that was 7 out of 16. Okay. Well, we want to know out of our visitors, how many of them actually bought something, and that's why we've got that 6%. Now we've got a little tab here. Grab that and move it out of the way. Now, if you look here, you'll see some absolute cell references. And so we want to know the percent of total visitors by source, okay? How Fashionista accounts for what percentage of all of our visitors. And so we click up here in the formula bar and we see B10, that's the visitors, by B24. All right. Notice that I've got B24 is an absolute cell reference. Why? Because B24 is the total number of people who visited. Okay? And then we just repeat that process with each of these. And then we get the total for the visitors. And then we get the total number of shoppers. And here's an interesting thing. Now on D24, we have the visitors converted to shoppers. Now let's click on that and take a look. Okay. And we have C24, that's the total number of shoppers, divided by B24, the total number of visitors. So we know that the visitors who became shoppers, we know that was about 19%. Out of the 2,300 who visited us, how many of them actually, what percentage of them attempted to make a purchase? And we've got that right here. Again, that's a sum. And then we want to see the shoppers converted to attempted buyers. So let's look at that. And it's E24. And that's the total number of attempted buyers divided by C24, which is the total number of shoppers. So we're just rolling through this as we're answering some questions about the sales conversion process. Because remember, they visit, then they become a shopper, then they become an attempted buyer. Okay? And then they become a buyer. All right? They purchase something. Now, this lets us see that progression. And we've done some things like using absolute cell reference when we're referencing back to the total. We've got the totals down here. The key information is over here. What percentage of visitors purchase something from a fashionista, from Fraulein, from Glamour, Google, etc. And then overall. Okay? And then we have the percent of total visitors by source. So we know down here that out of that, we know that 6% of our visitors made a purchase. All right? Now, the next thing for us to do is let's go ahead and we'll do something here to make this look a little better. So I'm going to come down here to row 25 and 26. And I'm going to come over here and find a fill color that matches it. All right? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put all borders. This is just to make it a little bit nicer. And to guide the reader, the end user, remember, they're going to start and go left to right and then drill down. I'm going to take this column, row 24 that has these totals, okay, and I'm going to make them bold so it's very clear what they are. And notice I've got notes here. And now I'm ready to do some other things with this if I want to. For example, let's come over here to the visitors who purchased, and notice I set this off. This has all borders but none in between, while these have all borders. This sets these off, these last two columns, because these are giving me some overall figures. What percentage of visitors actually came and bought something? And then the total, the percent of total visitors by source. Where are they coming from? Okay, so now even with a little bit of formatting, I've made this look more like a table. I've made it easier to see. Now I'm ready to do some work with it in terms of visual and the visual display, because this is a table with a bunch of numbers. Well, let's do this. I want to get the percentage of visitors who purchased. So I'm going to start here at cell I9, and I'm going to come all the way down to I22, and I'm going to use our old friend conditional formatting. And I'm going to try data bars with a gradient fill. Okay. Now, what should jump out at you? Well, as we talked about in class, the first thing I do is I look for outliers at the bottom end and the top end, the high and the low. As I'm looking here, I see this one website, whoever they are, models.com, and they account for 4%. Well, there's Yahoo down here that's even lower. They account for 3%. And one of the things we also have to take into account is, well, how many people came from there? Because the number, the raw number, can affect the percentage. So to make certain that I'm on an even keel, okay, I'm going to say, all right, out of my, I'm going to do a bar graph here using the conditional formatting. All right. Now I've used the bar graphs, and it's still, I have a lot of data, data points clustering around. And we have the number of attempted buyers who purchased and the number and the percent who purchased. Now we have to take into account the fact, all right, that these percentages can be misleading because of the raw numbers that are involved. So I'm going to highlight these areas where I use conditional formatting. I'm going to click on conditional formatting. I'm going to clear the rules from the selected cells. And we're right back to where we were. Now we can start to look at raw data. The percentages should kind of even things out, but percentages can deceive us. If I have a company that's doing $100 million a year, and my goal is for us to increase by 10% next year, we have to generate an additional 10. We have to generate 110 million the next year to meet that goal. The extra 10 million being that 10% increase. If I'm running a $1 billion company, okay, and I want a 10% increase, well, you know what I'm looking at? 100 million, 10 times that. So percentages can be very, very misleading. So I would be interested in raw numbers and looking at them. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my cursor over here on A9, okay? And I'm going to come over all the way to J9, and I'm going to come down all the way to, I'm going to use the array A9 to J22, okay? And I'm going to come over here on the right side, and I'm going to do a custom sort. Make sure that my data has levels, headers, and they do. And then I'm going to sort by visitors, okay? And I'm going to go from the largest to the smallest. And let's see what we get. Now this gives us a different perspective now, okay? Because as I'm looking at it, who sends me more people than anybody? Yahoo. And so their purchasing is comparatively, they produce 9 buyers. Models produced 9 buyers. Fraulein produced 9 buyers. So there's a lot here to take a look at to try to determine. One of the things we do know is that while the number of visitors and let's just do something for a moment. I'm going to take the visitors and I'm going to highlight cells B10 to B22, okay? And I'm going to use conditional formatting, but this time I'm going to use a color scale where green shows good, yellow is kind of average, and red is low, kind of like a stop sign. I'm going to come over here to the visitors who purchased, and I'm going to highlight cells I10 down to I22. And I'm going to do the same thing with the color scales. And let's see if there's a pattern. And isn't that interesting? We have these websites that are sending a lot of visitors. We're getting a lot of visitors from the Yahoo, Glamour models or models, Nordstrom's. Those account for, there's 260, that's 500. So they account for 900 of the 2,300 total visitors, almost a third of them. But they have pretty abysmal records in terms of the buyers. But let's stick with, instead of percentages, let's stick with raw numbers. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to clear out that conditional formatting. Now you could see why I use these old cases. They're a lot more extensive, a lot more filled out. So I've got the number of visitors, and I'm going to go ahead and put my cursor on G10, and I'm going to come all the way down to G22. Okay? I'm going to go to the conditional formatting, and I'm going to use the color schemes, and I'm going to use that same scheme, green, yellow, red. And actually it's a green, a yellow, kind of a green. Now we know this. I can see a pattern right now. Google produces a low number of visitors and a low number of buyers, which you would think would be just the opposite. But what does this tell you? Well, what it tells you is there aren't many people who are searching for you. They land on your page because they see a link to your page at these other websites, which tells you you're dependent on those sites for eyeballs So that means you're going to have to get better at operating, at doing something, at working with Google, what they call their search engine optimization process, so that you get ranked higher. Businesses all the time battle and fight for those coveted first 25 to 50 spots after a Google search, because if you're selling something, that's typically, people will stop somewhere right there. So you don't have many people looking for you on Google, but they go over to Yahoo and they see a link. All right, and if you're buying, if you're paying Google, I mean, they're just not doing much good. All right, so there's one insight here that we have in terms of visitors versus buyers. Now, glamour.com seems to fit what would make sense. They have the second highest number of visitors, the second highest number of buyers, and then if you come down, you look at Nordstrom. Well, if you look at there's Glamour and Glamour, they have 14. So they, except for Yahoo, you've got those 4 websites. You've got this 9 and 4 and 9 and 15 pattern. Then you start to see, and here's something interesting. Look at this. Saks Fifth Avenue sends you 167 visitors. 15 of those purchase. And they accounted 9% of all visitors who purchased. So it might be that you would want to put more money or get a larger presence at Saks. So as you can see, there's a lot here we could do with a lot of analysis in this one very simple table. And it gives us some food for thought on exactly what do we want to do? What decisions do I want to make as we try to improve our sales conversion process? Now, again, as I told you, grab this and move this up here. I'm going to save this file, and you should save it to your desktop. And notice I named it Athena Beauty, a Harmon Case 2, and I'm going to put it on my desktop. I'm going to save, right? And I can upload this for my credit. All right. Now we're going to look at this other file now. We're going to look at this named rows temp. And here it is. Let's open it up. Okay. And this is a template. And it's going to be in the companion, and it's using chapter 2, figure 217. Let's go over here for a moment, and let's go take a look at the textbook. Okay. Now, in this example, they are using range names to refer to different rows. Okay. And that's one of the ways that we use the name manager to help us out. Now, let's go for a moment and we'll go back down. and I'm going to open up the named rows. And, I had already renamed it. And we've got it up here. Now, here we see a fairly simple payroll. It looks like a little payroll. And I've got wages, the number of hours they worked. Did they work on Saturday? Did they work on Sunday? As I start to look at this, I say, okay, how many hours were counted for? And so I have a payroll, okay? And we'll go back up to the textbook for a minute. And the row contains 12 daily, as you're seeing here in the text, the named rows. Row 12 contains daily wages, daily wage rates. Row 13 contains hours worked each day. And you can simply select row 12 by clicking in the 12 and use the name box to enter the name range. So let's do that here for just a moment. So it tells us we could select row by clicking on the 12 and use the name box. And so I'm going to click in the 12. Okay. And I've got the name box. All right. Now this is a little bit tricky. So let's go back up here. Enter the wage, name wage. So we're going to do that. We're going to use the name manager. I'm going to click here in 12, and I'm going to call that wage. All right. I should say for me there. There's an easier way to do this, and let me show you. Let's click on formulas. Okay. And you'll see it says define name. Now I'm going to define a name. All right. And the name is wage, and it's going to be now we'll select those. Okay. Now, let's go to the name manager, and it will tell us that the name wage is for those values. Okay. Now, we're going to create hours. And we're going to do another name manager. And we're going to start here with 13 and 13E. And I'm going to define a name. And that's going to be hours. I'll click that, okay. Now we'll go in the name manager now, and we see wages and we see hours. And then we're going to have payroll. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of those. And I'm going to define a name. And it will be called payroll. Boom. Now, here in cell F14, all right, I want to compute the wage. Now, if I want to, I could put equal F times equal F12 times F13. So let's try that. F13. Now notice that it's telling me, okay, I've got this sum. All right. And I could use the dollar sign right in front of the 12, saying I'm staying on row 12. And I could put the dollar sign here and say I'm staying on in front of the 13 and click. All right. And then it's a simple process. I just drag and drop this across. Okay. Now, let's try something down here. And down here, I'm going to put test. Okay. This is in cell F16. And I'm going to put equal. And then I'm going to come up here and it says using a formula. And I'm going to click on wage times, and I'm going to click on use formula again, and I'm going to put hours. And look at that. And I'm just going to come all the way across. And I've used the name manager. Okay. So up here, I just simply used conditional, I used cell referencing, and I used the cell reference. I put the dollar sign in front of the 12. I put the dollar sign in front of the 13. So it said stay on row 12 and row 13, regardless of the column. And I did a drag and drop. Here, I used the names that were assigned to each of those. Now, you say, well, okay, well, what's the point? What's the difference? Well, here's an important difference. Here, I'm working with cells, which is fine. But here, I see the names of the variables. Now, if I click here, I'm going to click on this cell F14, and it'll go. Excel will give me some feedback. It'll tell me, okay, you're taking the thing in blue, whatever that value is, times the thing in red. There's your answer. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but here I see the variables in English, words that I can understand. Okay? So I've got the wages times the hours. And that's pretty much all that we have to do with that. Now, the authors give us some different figures: 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay? And I'm going to use the name manager again. Well, we've got, and I looked in the text to see what this was supposed to be about, okay? And these increments didn't make much sense to me. and I didn't see them in the textbook as I looked through the narrative. I think they're trying to maybe look at the growth or something like that. Okay, so I'm just not going to do anything with this one. The name grows. Okay. And what it looks like to me, I'm seeing this, looks like they've got the wages goes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 15 for Saturday and Sunday if you work. Now, there's a couple of other things that we need to do here. They don't seem very important, but they are. We're going to do some more formatting of this. I'm going to come here and make a ribbon. And I'm going to click back on home. And I'm going to make that a nice blue. I'm going to bold those up. You say, wow, what's the point of this? The point of this is quite simple. To make it look more professional, to make it look nicer, and more importantly, to lead your reader along, your end user, the person who looks at it. So I'm going to come down here. I don't even have to do that. I'm going to click Copy, Format Painter, and then I'm going to paint that format. Okay. Now, of course, if I want, I can come over here. I'll click Copy, Format Painter, and I'm just going to simply add a nice touch there. And then I'm going to do this. It gives me a nice, fairly nice looking table. Now, I would also do this. I'm going to put all of these, I'm going to put these hours, pardon me, I'm going to take the hours and I'm going to put them in the middle. Align them in the middle. Why? Because it looks a lot more uniform. I'm going to do the same thing with wage. Okay. I might align those to the left. Let's see what they look like. Let's align them to the right. Let's try the center. That's not too bad. Now, to finish this off, I'm going to come in and I'm going to put all borders. These are the kinds of things that we add to make it look good. Now, and on payroll, I think what I'll do is go ahead and I'll make those bold. Okay. Again, let's click on Formulas, click on the Name Manager, and you'll see we've got a designated range of cells for hours, a designated range of cells for payroll, a designated range of cells for wage. Okay, and isn't that so much easier to name the variables? Okay, and just simply drag and drop it across. Now we're going to do one more thing. We're going to declare a bonus. we're going to say that we've had such a great week. We're going to give everybody a $20 bonus. All right. Now I'm going to highlight that and go back up here. And just as you've suspected, I'm going to put fill in there. Nice fill. And that bonus, and I'm going to use the name manager to define a name. And it's called bonus. Now, I've got bonus. So we have the $20 bonus, okay? And so we're going to use the name manager down here. And this is going to equal wages times hours plus, and I'm over here using a formula, bonus. Boom. And I'll just carry this on across. Okay. Now I may have, I will have to copy this formula to come across. All right, but you can see. And I'll come up here and I'll click copy, and I can take this formula, all right, and go ahead and use it. I expected the drag and the drop to work, but it's not going to do it for me. So I'm going to have to do this. And I'll click on formula. And I want to copy that formula. Let's look here at formulas for just a second. Might have to do a little more finagling around. Well, I've got the wages plus hours. Okay, we went to 295. That went to 410. Well, maybe I fooled myself. I'm tired. I did. It worked. Sorry about that, folks. See? So we've concentrated on using cell referencing. We've concentrated on the name manager. I've shown you some ways we can make the spreadsheet look a little more viable. We can highlight areas that we want to look at. So those are some of the spreadsheeting skills we've worked with. Now, in the same token, in the Athena Beauty case, that old one, we saw the sales conversion process. So there was a business problem we were dealing with, and we worked through it. Now, let's go back up here for a moment to the text. And look, they tell you that select row 12 and the name box. And frankly, I find it confusing and I have trouble using it, and I don't. So I'm going to tell you right now, in my undivided opinion, click on formulas, go to the name, go define the name, all right? And when you need to use it in the formula, you use it. I wouldn't mess with that, trying to click over here and all that. If you want to declare a range of cells, then you can do that. Let's look up here and see the name manager. And wages, yeah. And there are the values. And that tells you, it refers to these cells in the sheet. And those are the values. So I think you're better off just, to me, this is more intuitive. Okay? Now, again, we're in pretty good shape here, and I'm going to save this file. I'm going to save it as on my desktop, and I'm calling it copy of named rows temp Harmon case 2. I'm going to save it. Okay. Now, if I want to, I'm ready to come over here and upload XLS1 and XLS2. I also have some files for you called the XLS key, and don't worry about the date, okay? It still will work as the key. And you can upload it. All right. Now, just so that everybody, if you don't want to use these, okay, here's the key and you can upload it here. I'm going to go ahead and these files that I'm worked on, and I'm going to click on Files, and I'm going to click Upload. Okay. And I'm going to go to my desktop. This is just me as instructor, and I'm going to put these up here for you if you want to find them and use them. And I'm going to click on the desktop, and I'm going to find Athena. There it is, Athena Beauty, Harmon case 2. And that file is uploaded. And then I'm going to upload the named rows temp. We'll find that down here. Named rows temp, Harmon case 2. And I'm going to put it in the files area. And so if you want to upload it for XLS2, you may do so. So as it stands, okay, you can look. I've covered those two files, Athena and the named rows temp, that were in the resources file for XLS. I also have a couple of keys for you that you can download and then upload. So you've got some things you can take a look at. Okay? I don't care. And what we'll probably do is I think on next Thursday, I'll probably take a look at this XLS1 key and talk with you about what's in there. The same thing for this XLS2 key. And then we'll also talk about XLS3, the Guardian Roofing Payroll. Okay? Now you'll have a quiz coming up, and so you'll have to go to that file that contains the resources that you'll be using for the financial ratios quiz, and where you can find them. Okay? If you should be hunting for files that I've listed and you don't find them, please contact me immediately, send me an email, and I'll make sure that I make them visible. Okay? This is for the financial ratios quiz. It's going to be due on the 8th. And that's going to be it pretty much on the 7th, which is next Thursday, we'll go over this, and we'll talk also, I'll just preview these two examples that you can use as for workshop credit for XLS 1 and 2. And we'll take a look at Guardian Roofing Payroll, which is a tremendous spreadsheet and one of the best I've ever seen. Workbook, excuse me. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and I will post this, and you'll want to view this in lieu of a live screencast. And as I said before, I'm going to use this video for both sections of BISS 1123 because you're both at about the same time. You're both at the same place, and I'm not having class at 12:30 and then again at 2 o'clock. I'm just going to give you one pre-recorded, and I'll post it in each of your classes. I think you understand what I'm saying, okay? All right, folks, thanks a lot. God bless you, and I will be seeing you physically on Thursday. Don't forget to take a look in the announcements area because that's where I'll post this video, where I've posted the invitations for Thursday's classes, where I've posted my schedule, okay? So we'll stop the share, and we'll stop the recording.